Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 3698. Today's date is November 12, 2025. It has been almost like a morning at 8:55 a.m. All right, let's just jump into the question. Let's go. All right. The question is, what if the dreams were glimpses of parallel lives? Okay, that's a really good question. All right. First of all, what exactly is this question and why am I asking this question to myself? This is what if question. Why am I asking this question to myself? What if question is always really interested way to give the answer. It kind of like a force you to think about that reality. When I try to think about that reality, when I try to construct that reality, it really required kind of like a knowledge, experience, emotion, whatever I have, I'm trying to tell that thing. So when I try to reimagine that knowledge, information, experience, it's kind of like some sort of trap inside of my head. When I ask this question to myself, I kind of like suddenly feel free to evoke that knowledge again, evoke that experience again, and it kind of like a feel little bit of good. I don't know how do I supposed to express that thing, that how do I feel good, but it felt good that knowing something that, yeah. Disclaimer, the information that I'm trying to tell you is not exactly right or is not exactly wrong either. It is raw, it is unfiltered, it is my opinion. All right. So basically, what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, everything that I'm saying is just my opinion. So do not believe in any kind of like information that I'm saying, or do not seek any kind of like information that I'm saying. If you need any kind of like information, go to the internet, search for it, you will get the entire information. I'm just giving my opinion, and opinion are subjective according to the every person. All right. Now proceed. Now let's proceed to the question. The question says that what if dreams were a glimpse of parallel lives? Okay. This question is a bit more scientific and bit more kind of like a futuristic perspective. Okay, yeah. You probably seen a lot of kind of like a movies regarding about that. Movies, web series. There is a one web series that kind of like a pop up in my head. Flash. DW TV web series. Flash. Okay, Barry Allen Flash. Not the Flash in the movie. The Flash in kind of like a TV series. Grant Gustin is a kind of like act who kind of like act in this Flash web series. Okay, yeah. So this web series is kind of like a somebody try to represent multiverse and things and that and that. Now regarding about this, multiverse means more than one universe. That is called multiverse. Okay, yeah. Now this concept is so futuristic and scientifically there is no evidence that there is a multiverse is actually exist or not, because it's like basically our universe is actually far more beyond having another multiverse. Having another universe is even more like I don't know how do I supposed to explain. It's a way beyond our imagination, or my imagination probably. Okay, whatever. So this is called multiverse. All right, yeah. Now basically I am trying to talk about kind of like assembly what does exactly the kind of like assembly the web series and kind of like movies told me regarding about the multiverse, and what exactly is this thing. I'm trying to explain that particular stuff. Okay, yeah. Now you actually take multiples of decision. Okay. I'm in this particular if when I'm trying to give the answer, there is no scientific evidence regarding about that multiverse and okay, yeah. Why am I including multiverse in this question? Like there is no concept about the multiverse in this thing. Like there is nothing really at all. It's they says that parallel lives. It's not a universe. Then what exactly is this thing? Okay, I'm trying to explain. Okay, yeah, as simple as possible as you can. But the information that I'm trying to tell you is completely unverified and completely fiction. Okay, yeah. And there is no evidence of kind of like a reality. Probably if there is a kind of like a reality evidence might gonna exist, but I'm not really sure. The information that I'm trying to tell you is completely frictionized. And what is actually friction kind of like a tell me regarding about the multiverse, I'm trying to kind of like a blabbered out in this artifact episode, blend it out in this artifact episode. All right, now let's proceed. All right, yeah. So basically let's just say that you kind of like a count done your exam. Okay, yeah. and today is the result day. Okay, yeah. Now basically is this thing, there is a particular significant amount of marks you really required to go into the kind of like a medical, or else if you didn't really achieve that particular marks, then you are kind of like a, you went to kind of like a you will not become a doctor. Okay, let's just kind of like assume that key there is a result today, we're gonna announce, and if you get 100 out of more than 70 marks, then probably you are eligible for go into the medical college and you will become a doctor. But if you didn't really get more than 70 marks, then probably you are not eligible for medical college, you are not eligible for become a doctor and things like that. All right, and this is your last chance. All right, so there is a two possibility here. Okay, yeah, one possibility to get more than 70 marks, another possibility to get less than 70 mark. Okay, yeah, but this possibility can kind of like simply change the entire life of that particular person, because if that particular person get more than 70 marks, then that particular person go into the medical college, that particular person went into the college, medical college, that particular person became a doctor, kind of like started working at hospitals, saving life and things, his life would be changed, he's kind of like a completely change. Okay, yeah. There is another possibility that he didn't really get, he kind of like a somebody gets 68 marks. Okay, so he is not kind of like a went to the engineering college, so probably he kind of like a decided to go into the kind of like a something less medical, kind of like a somebody pharmacy. Okay, yeah, so he went to pharmacy, started working on medical store or things or that or stuff like that. So basically is this thing, the entire life will gonna shifted from this point of perspective, this mark. Okay, yeah. Now what exactly happened? Okay, yeah, in frictionalized point of perspective, what is actually friction, kind of like a tell me. Okay, yeah, is this thing that key, whatever the choices that we made in these particular choices, it create the branch inside in the multiverse. Okay, what exactly is this thing, or what exactly is that is that key, in this particular point, if you achieve more than 70 mark, then you will create another universe. If you didn't really achieve the kind of like a something this less than 70 marks, you will kind of like create another universe. So basically imagine there is a line who kind of like a divided into two line. Okay, yeah, and that two line is actually divided by this event called how much marks is get. Okay, yeah, so this is called kind of like a something multiverse. Like basically there is a multiverse actually happened. Okay, in this universe, this particular person is a doctor. In this another universe, this particular person is a pharmacist. Okay, yeah, that's it. So this is kind of like a two universe. Now basically I just explain only very simple example. Okay, yeah, but when you are living your life, you are kind of like a take so many decisions, so many decisions. Okay, yeah, let's just say thousands of millions of decisions in your life. Okay, yeah, so each decision kind of like a lead to very different kind of like some universe. So basically each person create millions of kind of like a branches in the universe. Okay, and we are not just a one person, we are kind of like a billions of person are actually exist. So billions of person create trillions or quadrillions of universe. Okay, of kind of like a different choices and things like that. Okay, so because of this thing, it create multiverse. Okay, this is the kind of like a some definition of multiverse that actually happened. Okay, yeah, because in one universe this person is a doctor, another universe this person is a pharmacist. Okay, yeah, an entire kind of like a something change according to it, entire thing will kind of like change according to it. Okay, that is called kind of like a only multiverse. So this is the kind of like a multiverse concept is kind of like a something established. Okay, by the way, where is this kind of like information that I'm getting, what kind of like a friction that I'm using? Back to the Future, 1978, probably 1917, I'm not really sure. This movie is kind of like a somebody the kind of like a tell us regarding about the future and kind of like a time travel and things like that. They kind of like a mention that every choices that we made kind of like a creates this kind of like a somebody alternate universe and things like that. That is called kind of like a somebody multiverse and things and that. This is called kind of like a somebody the multiverse of definition of the multiverse kind of like established, and people went crazy about this thing. Like this idea is kind of like somebody blew their mind and stuff like that. By the way, scientifically there is no evidence at all. No, nothing at all. All right, yeah. Do you understand this multiverse concept? All right, yeah. Means every decision that you make, every small decision that you make. Let's just say that today you didn't really bring your tiffin at your school, and one day you and another time you took the tiffin. Okay, yeah. So basically, it kind of like creates a very different timeline, probably. Okay, yeah. Whatever. It's a concept. It's a kind of like a very frictionalized and stuff like that. All right. Do you understand? Now the question says that what if, okay, yeah, the dreams that we are kind of like a seeing at the sleep during the night is not the dream, is the kind of like a glimpse of another lives. Another lives means that another kind of like a sorry person who is kind of like a in another universe. Like basically is this thing, the person who is in the pharmacy world, okay, yeah, who sleep, and he kind of like get the glimpse of what kind of like a person he will become a doctor, then what kind of like some things will gonna happen with him. So he was kind of like seeing all those scenario that when he became a doctor, what kind of like things happened, but in reality he just a pharmacy. Okay, yeah. Now same thing happened with the doctor. When the doctor kind of like a sleep, he kind of like a some glimpse of that such a kind of like such a kind of like images that when he didn't really get that medical college, he when he became a pharmacy, then what kind of like a pharmacy universe would be look like. Okay, so this kind of like a some glimpse of different universe, and they are kind of like a seeing those reflection while seeing on the dream. Okay, yeah. Now if this thing is actually happened, then what would be that, what exactly is this thing, what would be that reality if such thing happen? Okay, yeah, probably is this thing we have started believing that parallel universes actually exist, but still parallel universe is a kind of like a very big concept. Okay, yeah. And another thing is that even if every person is kind of like a seeing those particular parallel lives and things like that, they just kind of like a simply don't really understand why am I seeing this kind of like a simply picture and things like that. Another thing, okay, yeah, is that if we are kind of like a seeing those kind of like a dreams, that means somehow we have connection with our doppelganger. Okay, yeah. Now doppelganger, it's very hard to explain, hard to phrase that thing. What says that doppelganger means like that the person who became a doctor. Okay, yeah. So basically, I am a pharmacist. Okay, yeah. I didn't really get say more than 70 marks. So I am became a pharmacist. So for me, the person who became a doctor, that particular person called as my doppelganger. Okay, my doppelganger. Same concept for them too. Okay, yeah. The person who became a doctor, that particular person, from that point of perspective, he will say that pharmacist is my doppelganger. Okay, yeah. It is me, but it's my doppelganger. Okay. So that is called kind of like something, this doppelganger kind of like a term is kind of like something established. All right, yeah. Now basically if we are kind of like seeing those things, those images in our dream, that means we must have some sort of connection in between us. Okay, and that connection kind of like leads us very different way. Now let me tell you one thing, dreams are very fragile. Okay, yeah. Even if we have so much technology and things and that, still we cannot record our dreams. Why? Because dreams are like in real world, the dreams are kind of like something that key unexplainable. Like sometimes we are kind of like seeing something, but sometimes we kind of like seeing something that is kind of like something like there is no kind of like a connection at all. It's just kind of like a random images that we kind of like seen and stuff like that. Okay, yeah. By the way, in reality, we are kind of like seeing such a dream is because of that our mind is kind of like simply back up the everything information that you are collected throughout the day and kind of like stored in your long time memory and things like that. While doing this particular process, it kind of like simply mind is kind of like simply understanding what is actually your thought process and try to connect your thought process with the reality that what we've been through, try to compile that thing and just put it down. By the way, if you wanted to understand where is this friction thing actually coming from, it's actually coming from Inside Out movie. Okay, Inside Out is an animated movie. I highly recommend, definitely watch you this movie, Inside Out animated movie from Disney Pixar, one of the best movie. All right, so basically this kind of like something kind of like a things actually happen. That's why we are kind of like seeing such kind of like a dreams regarding about what exactly happened inside of us, inside in our day and things like that. All right, yeah. Now in this reality, in like if we find out that kind of like somebody that we could kind of like see a glimpse of the other lives, then probably what will gonna happen that we might become a kind of like a somebody, we are started believing that there is a kind of like a somebody another universe, there is a, we are kind of like a somebody another life are actually exist. Okay, yeah. And basically we are trying to connect that thing, but we cannot because it's another universe. Okay, yeah. But still is this thing that how does it shapes us, how does it kind of like somebody shape us? Well, probably is this thing na ki we are not satisfied enough for our achievement. Okay, let me give you context. Okay, what I'm saying. Oh yeah. Now, in this particular timeline that I mentioned, the A person became a doctor, B person became a pharmacist. Okay, yeah. Obviously, the person who became a doctor earn more. Okay, yeah. When a person actually earn more, he can spend more too. He would have big home, big car, and things and that. Another thing is a pharmacist. A pharmacist doesn't really earn that much amount of money, so he might have kind of like a small home and things and that. Now imagine that there is a particular person who is a kind of like a something like a basically is this thing that he was a pharmacist. He was kind of like a seen the glimpse of that he was became a doctor in the another universe. Then because then he was kind of like a bitterly jealous about himself. Okay, he was not really satisfied with the reality that he has. Okay, yeah. And he was always in kind of like a stress and things like that. He was always things that he always blamed that particular event that happened, that kind of like a shook the entire world. Like basically he will become a doctor and another became a kind of like a pharmacist and things like that. He was not satisfied with his reality. He was not satisfied with his house, his car, his wife and things and that, because he already knew there is a better version of him is actually exist in the another universe, which kind of like a living the really grateful life. And when we are not satisfied enough, we are kind of like a crippled our kind of like a something reality much more kind of like a something much more wrong way. Okay, we are kind of like a somebody try to compare ourself, our better version of ourself, and kind of like a make our reality corrupted, and this might be kind of like a create a chaos in the society. Okay, yeah. And not just that, okay, let me give you the context. Okay, yeah. Is that thing, let's just imagine that the particular person became a doctor. Okay, yeah, he just became just a doctor for the rest of the lifetime. Okay, yeah. Yeah, he might get the really good salary, but let's just imagine that in the pharmacy world there is a particular person, he always envy that particular person, he became a doctor and things like that. He just kind of like be really jealous and things like that. But in the future there is a turning moment actually happened, and he will become a kind of like some chief medical officer. Okay, yeah, more than a doctor. Okay, yeah. When he became the chief medical officer, then probably he would realize that all this actually happened is not meant for kind of like a simply for wrong thing, is meant for kind of like a make him better and things like that. Okay, so when that doctor person kind of like imagine that there is a kind of like a somebody, the person who the his doppelganger is kind of like a became a pharmacist, but then after that he will become the chief medical officer. Then that particular person kind of like a jealous that particular person, jealous that kind of like a pharmacy person. He was kind of like a saying this thing that he was kind of like a crippled his reality. He was kind of like a thing that my reality is really fucked up and things and that, and he was not really satisfied enough with his life. Right, so this is what we might kind of like somebody seen. Okay, yeah. And this was kind of like somebody really chaos in our society probably. And this might not be something really good. Okay, yeah. Let me give you context. Life is not meant to be right, life is not meant to be wrong, life is not meant to be kind of like a rich, or life is not meant to be poor. Life is meant to be live. That's it. Okay, yeah. And live life peacefully, happily. This is kind of like some value of the life. It's not determined by the money, how much money that you have, or how much kind of like some cars and homes and things that you have. Yes, those are things matter. Money is matter, respect matter, love matter. Yeah, it kind of like a gives us kind of like a some life that we wanted. But still, those things are actually created without the money, without things that too. Okay, yeah. You just kind of like a develop your mindset, you just kind of like a upgrade yourself to better version. It's not meant to be kind of like a something that ki other version of you is kind of like a some better version of you. No, there is no better, there is no comparison at all, nothing really at all. So what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, do not kind of like a somebody envy, or do not kind of like a things if such thing will gonna become reality, if that what if thing will be gonna become reality. It kind of like a create and chaos, and that might of like a lead to disaster. Okay, yeah. And this is not really good for the society. Yeah. Like basically chain reaction would gonna happen. Like people will not gonna feel really good every single day. Monday morning they are bitly chaos, always in a stress and things and that. People getting kind of like a heart attack. People are kind of like a die as very early age. People are trying to take so much kind of like a some therapy and things and that. Another thing is that people always knew, people are trying to avoid the sleep, because when he went to sleep he was kind of like a seeing those dreams. And when the people are not getting sleep, then probably it will kind of like create the disaster. Their productivity will gonna loss and disaster. All right, so this is all, this thing is actually happened. It's not good, it's not right, it's not better, but it's a chaos in everywhere. Thank God we are not seeing those things. Thank God there is no multiverse actually exist. We are the people. We are kind of like a somebody taking decision by itself. Okay, yeah. There is no kind of like a somebody universe will gonna shift or kind of like a somebody drifted apart by the choices. No, it's just a frictionized concept. In reality, there is not. Universe is actually far more beyond our universe. It's like our universe is actually far more than we can't even contemplate. We can't even imagine. What if we can't even imagine things? We are kind of like a somebody creating a kind of like a um somebody the frictionalized version of what could be the universe, what could be that another universe and things and that. And probably it's not. Okay, yeah. I'm not really sure the multiverse actually exists or not. I'm not really sure what exactly is this thing. But probably multiverse is not gonna exist by kind of like only the another life and parallel version of you. Probably not. Or maybe I am not really sure. I think that he it's I don't know. Okay. It's a very kind of like a concept is a kind of like a somebody very it's very frictionalized version. Okay, there is no scientific evidence regarding about everything at all. It just, yeah. So my kind of like a somebody giving the opinion to you. Okay, yeah, believe in your dream. Okay, yeah, thankful you are not kind of like a getting a dream of your kind of like another universe. No, you are kind of like a getting the dream of that, the things that you like. Okay, like basically you are dreaming about flying, you are dreaming about kind of like having a cars and homes and monies and things and that. Yeah, which is also really good. These are really essential factor too, which kind of like lead us to kind of like a growth and things like that, which is okay, which is good. Like having those dreams is, it's not really bad. It's a good, really good thing. It kind of like a force you to kind of like a be kind of like a better version of you. Okay, yeah, and that is good. That is really good. Okay, yeah. Dreams are, I don't know why we are actually getting dreams. Oh yeah, I don't really have any control why I'm actually getting dreams. It's not, but I think that now this is kind of like only our imagination. This is kind of like only progress actually happened. Our growth is actually comes from our brain, and the brain is actually create the idea, create the creativity and things and that. And this kind of like a very very complex system has actually exist inside our mind, which is kind of like a way much bigger than our thought process and things like that. So this is it. This is all those kind of like a concept that it is. Okay, yeah. Even if I wanted to talk about this thing, it's kind of like a went into the another perspective, and I don't want to talk about this thing. Okay, yeah. By the way, if you wanted to kind of like a frictionalize to see all those things, there is a particular couple of web series, Flash web series. Okay, yeah. They kind of like explain this thing, doppelganger and multi-universe concept very nicely. Okay, yeah. Another thing is that Inside Out, highly recommend watch this movie. How the brain work, how the dream works, and things like that. It's not exactly clearly representation, but kind of like going to tell us the animated version of kind of like a how it is our kind of like a imagination, kind of like a create inside our mind and things like that. All right, this is it. I should supposed to be end here, and thanks for listening. Thank you.